We came ashore where wild-flowered hills tilted to the tide, and walked sad and gay among the turnip sellers, tripping over the cremated foundations of long-ago homes, half buried in the long year's grass. Almost reverently, we walked among the rocks of the Holy Church and worshipped roses in the dead yard, and came again to the cove as they did after Rosary in the green and salty days. And men offshore, hauling traps, wondered what ghosts we were, walking with the forgotten sheep over the foot-high grass paths that led like trapdoors to a past they could hardly recall.
The fondest wish I ever had since the day that I was weaned is to go back to walk again on the rocks of Merasheen, on the hard rocks, the rocky rocks, the rocks of Merasheen. I still recall the sad farewell that I bid her on that day, as all upon a whaling ship I went to earn my pay. From out of Rosaroo we sailed to hunt the big fish down. We sailed upon the ocean till we sailed the world around, with girls in every port of call. I did go well astray, forsaking her I'd left behind back in Placentia Bay, on the hard rocks, the rocky rocks, the rocks of Merasheen.
Sounds like a hard way to make a living, I said, when Anthony Wilson had finished telling of one particular rough time he'd had in winter fishing. Well, I'll tell you, Fance, he replied, it's the devil's own handiwork betimes. But once you leave off on a summer's morning, heading out, with the sun just peeping up, the skiff cutting clean in the water, and all that shiny sea stretching out ahead of you to the westward. Fance, you go out one morning like that and you can put up with winter fishing the rest of your life. It wasn't at all the sort of thing I would have expected from the weather-beaten granite giant of a man sitting across the table from me. Yet when he said it, it rang so true I felt a sudden surge of sadness sweep over the room. For as we sat talking, we, all of us, knew that this would be the last summer Anthony Wilson or anybody else would head out from Merasheen. Centralization, Premier Joseph Smallwood's plan to drag Newfoundland kicking and screaming into the 20th century, had already taken its toll in Placentia Bay, St. Leonard's, St. Kieran's, Gladys Harbour, St. Anne's, Toslow, and numerous other villages were already being reclaimed by the wilderness into which they had been etched some hundreds of years ago. And now there was talk of Merasheen. Well, the people didn't want to go, but they would go. There was no other way. Mike Casey would go, and his wife Elizabeth, though she kept saying over and over they'd have to drag her away. Stan Ennis and his son Andrew would go too, though they owned the best boat in the harbour, and Andrew was as good a fish killer as his father. And George Wilson would go. Skipper George Wilson, white-haired, as tall and dignified as a church spire, skin the texture of rawhide, bred and buttered there some 80-odd years ago, a legend in his time, father to Anthony, village elder, as gentle as the waves lapping the shore below his house, as rough as the rock that threw the sea back upon itself when it erupted with all its fury upon the jawbones. He would go, leaving his wife's grave to the delinquent sheep, leaving all he would have passed on to his sons, to the wind and the rain and the sea, would go, leaving everything behind with his memory and his old man's heart. But he would go.
Now in my old and aching age, I think on her once more, of how she fared while waiting for my knock upon her door. What fate was hers I do not know, but in my sleep I've seen her walking on the cliffs above the rocks of Merasheen, on the hard rocks, the rocky rocks, the rocks of Merasheen, on the hard rocks, the dirty rocks, the rocks of Merasheen.
Thank you.